Mass immigration is making Britain poorer, and the fact that Keir Starmer today doesn't seem to think it's a priority shows you that with these two parties, it is only going to get worse.
Nigel, you be honest with people.
We need a complete.
You be honest with people.
We need to leave the ECHR so we can deport people that come illegally and take back control of our borders and our lives.
You be honest with people.
And that's what the public wants.
You know.
The leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, telling the BBC Question Time audience the country needs to join Russia and Belarus as the only European countries outside the European Convention on Human Rights, so we can deport people who come here illegally and take back control of our borders. And Kemi Badenoch, the new leader of the Conservative Party, is now pandering to this same populist bollocks.
So, we will review every policy, treaty and part of our legal framework, including the ECHR and the Human Rights Act.
The claim repeatedly made that the ECHR is blocking the UK from deporting migrants is not entirely true for two very specific reasons.
First reason is that the European Court of Human Rights can block deportations only under very specific circumstances, which is whenever someone faces a real risk of torture, inhuman or degrading treatment in a third country.
So the European Court of Human Rights can in fact only step in under very specific circumstances. As a bastion of human rights, the ECHR can prevent deportations if the asylum seeker in question faces a real risk of torture or degrading treatment in the country they will be sent to, in violation of Article 3 of the ECHR. And surely that's a good thing, isn't it? But the second and perhaps even more important reason why this particular claim is false
We need to leave the ECHR so we can deport people that come illegally.
Is that the legal principle of non-refoulement is not just based on the ECHR. It's also a core principle of international law. The non-refoulement principle forbids countries from deporting people to a country which could threaten their life or freedom based on things like their race, religion or nationality. In fact, it's a key component not just of the ECHR, but of other international agreements, including the UN's 1951 Refugee Convention, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the UN Convention Against Torture. So when Farage says this,
we need to leave the ECHR so we can deport people that come illegally,
he's just talking bollocks. Even if the UK left the ECHR, it would still be bound by other international obligations and treaties. The simple fact is, if you want to give yourself a completely free hand internationally, you would have to withdraw not only from the ECHR, but also from the Refugee Convention and the United Nations Convention Against Torture. Just think about that. And leaving the ECHR would be a devastating blow to the UK's reputation within Europe and beyond as a country that accepted basic human rights obligations.
It would be a devastating blow to the UK's reputation within Europe and beyond as a kind of, as a country that accepted basic human rights obligations.
So what's the real motive behind leaving the ECHR? Well, let's not forget that the European Convention on Human Rights protects our right to a fair trial, freedom of assembly and expression, the right to participate in free elections, freedom of religion, freedom from discrimination, the right to privacy, freedom from torture and degrading treatment. The ECHR has also protected British people from abuses of power by its own government. So please remember all this next time you hear Farage or any other politician say this.
We need to leave the ECHR so we can deport people that come illegally and take back control of our borders.
And if all that's not enough for you, leaving the ECHR could result in the UK's trade deal with the EU being terminated because the convention is written into the 2020 Trade and Cooperation Agreement. And leaving the ECHR would also breach the Good Friday Agreement, which requires that the convention be directly enforceable in Northern Ireland. If we want to avoid a dangerous chain of events which could one day actually see Britain joining countries like Russia and Belarus as the only European countries outside the ECHR, we need to constantly call out this drumbeat from the right to leave. If you agree, please hit the share button with this film.